Fikeni. A very good morning to you, Doctor, and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers.
Now, there have been a number of concerns that the situation in Burundi at present could lead to another civil war just ahead of the elections. What's your opinion on this?
It certainly will be if the coup itself is undecided, and as such the president returns from Tanzania, because he may start trying to track down the protesters who celebrated the news as well as the former army intelligence. If those then start reacting and organizing themselves, we may be down for another civil strife in Burundi, unless a deal is struck in Tanzania.
Now, there have been concerns that the situation in Burundi, what's the possibility that the elections could go ahead under these circumstances?
It's unlikely, because even the peace talks in Tanzania, which is trying to resolve this situation, one of the very first things they've asked for is the postponement of elections. So to that end, I'm sure the pressure will be a lot more on President Nkurunziza to postpone the date and also to allow for the calming of the situation on the ground.
Our Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, is in Tanzania with a number of other heads of state and delegates that are hoping to talk and find a way to broker an agreement between the parties. What do you think needs to be said? What do you think needs to be done? And do you think they'll be successful?
Well, I do think that the parties which are meeting there, or the countries which are meeting there in Tanzania, are well experienced in the great region's peace talks. And as such, they may find a way of creating a transitional arrangement or a government of national unity, or even get the first prize, which is to persuade President Nkurunziza not to stand for the third term, but at the same time an immunity for him for those who may want to pursue him thereafter. That is the kind of arrangement one would be looking at, but it will not be easy, because he will not surrender power that more easily, especially so close to the time when there is an attempted coup.
How influential will Cyril Ramaphosa be in those discussions?
He certainly carries the weight of South Africa, but again, South Africa alone in the Great Lakes has always worked together with the countries like Uganda, Tanzania, and that's the time when they get a lot more gravitas when they work with the other nations in the region.
What do you foresee the outcome to be in the next week or so?
Well, it will at one stage depend on what is happening on the ground in Burundi. If you happen to have a successful coup, it suddenly changes the dynamic. They will have to speak to the new people in power and try to persuade them to return power to the civilian rule and arrange elections. But again, if it is undecided, you may have a situation where President Nkurunziza returns to Burundi into a very tense situation, which may lead to a fight between those who are trying to oust him and the government.
Dr. Fikeni, what went so wrong? Was it purely just because President Nkurunziza wanted a third term?
That was a trigger point, but also remember that he had fired his army intelligence chief in February, after he actually seemed to signal that indeed the third term was not a good idea. But tensions on the ground had not completely subsided, even though at this stage it doesn't seem like the ethnic tension between the Hutu and the Tutsi, but rather between political parties in the opposition, which feel that the president and the government is trying to silence them and emasculate them.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Somadoda Fikeni, for chatting to us here on A Morning Live. It certainly is a developing story and one that we'll be watching closely. Dr. Somadoda Fikeni chatting to us from Cape Town.